And I'm Aria Lipscomb, and this is the first of our alumni panels here. We are both seniors of the Communication Studies Department, and we are so excited to get this started today.
On behalf of the Comm Studies Department, we'd like to thank our graduates for coming back home to Lutzy Hall, as well as all our current students here in studio, as well as our overflow rooms.
Today's panels wrap up our very first Comm Studies Week, which began on Monday with a leadership lecture series and has included events such as the Women in Media panel, the graduate school reception, a live recording of the Queer Currents podcast right here in Lutzy Studio, and numerous contests and giveaways.
The alumni panel is a great way to end the week as it allows current students to ask graduates about their path after UNCW, about to learn how what we do here makes a difference out there. It's also a great way to ask questions and hear examples about what to do with your degree after you graduate. You can also ask more specific questions in our networking session that will follow this panel.
We will begin with a few questions from Betsy and myself, and then we'll give the audience a chance to ask their questions. Our panelists have been coached to keep their questions brief, so you guys can get a chance to ask your questions.
Now we'd like for the panelists to introduce themselves, and we'll just start right here with Jennifer and go right down the line.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Southern.
And tell us a little bit, like, what's your job? What do you do?
Okay. I work for PPD. I am a country approval specialist. Excuse me, I just received a promotion.
Awesome. Yes, congrats.
I'm Connor Buss. I am a 2014 graduate of Communication Studies, and I live in Los Angeles, where I co-run a small business production company with my brother. It's just two of us, and we are sort of on a mission to help small businesses in our area and then kind of take our platform and then hopefully kind of share it out with the rest of the world.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Shay Carver. I graduated in '99 with a double major in Comm Studies and English. I'm the editor of Encore Magazine, which is your local arts and entertainment magazine in Wilmington. It comes out every week.
Awesome.
Hi, my name's Summer Lambert. I graduated with a Comm Studies degree in 2014 and an International Studies degree. I'm a photographer here in Wilmington.
My name's Alyssa Portera. I graduated in May of 13 with a Comm Studies degree in Spanish, and I am a partner services and software manager for Cisco Systems, which is a fancy way of saying that I am in sales.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. So we'll dive right into it. Our first question is just tell us about your current job, like the essence of it, and like your day-to-day life in a minute or less.
Okay.
I know, kind of hard.
Again, I work for PPD, which is a clinical research organization, and I am a country approval specialist. Basically, when a clinical site, hospital, doctor's office wants to do clinical research for a drug that is in the beginning stages, I take all the documents, the regulatory documents, the CVs, curriculum vitae, or resumes from doctors, medical licenses, informed consent forms, which is what patients or subjects review before they agree to be in a study. And I review everything, make sure everything is legal, safe, and I get everything together and submit it to an institutional review board, which reviews everything. Once it's approved, I put it all nice together, get it approved again. And then it is the site is eventually activated. Drugs shipped to the site. I work with a clinical team. I get sites scheduled. It's a lot of reviewing documents and hopefully getting the drug ultimately FDA approved. So I'm helping save lives somehow.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. I did graduate in '03. Comm Studies minor in psychology.
Perfect. Sorry. Connor, can you name some specific examples that you've learned in the comm department that you might use in your day-to-day job?
Yeah, communication is a big one, but not just communication in the way that you would, just talk to somebody, but there are so many different forms of communication, and especially because I think I'm in a pretty lucky position where I get to sort of ride this line between business and creative. And there's different sort of communication tactics you have to employ in each one of those. I think in a creative environment, you want to be collaborative, you want to communicate in a way that's going to arouse creativity, foster creativity, and also help people work together. You know, you can take one person's creative vision with another person's and, you know, you kind of like mash them together, and then you kind of find this really great path in the middle of it. And then on the business side, obviously there's, you know, a lot of different ways that you can mess up business communication. So kind of being really, I guess, premeditated about sort of your approach in those situations. Like if you're dealing with a client, you know, you always want to make sure you shake their hand, you look them in the eye. You know, you put this sort of degree of trust between you guys so that you can execute, I guess, a deal. I don't know, like, when you want to use that word, but the idea is that so you can create a relationship with them, and you know they'll come back to you time and time again. You don't want to just do one project and then be done. You create a relationship and you foster that communication, and you know they'll come back to you time and time again.
Same question?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I deal with a multitude of people on a daily basis, whether they're interns just starting out in the world of writing for a magazine, or clients that I've had for years who are advertisers of Encore, who are local and have had businesses here for 25 years. So understanding from where they're coming and how they're approaching what their needs are, and being able to, you know, fill all those roles, I feel like is important. So being able to have students in this studies department who have enough experience in all of those areas, just not in a classroom, but out in a community. Put them out in outside of their comfort zone. That will help you more than anything else in the world. It will prepare you to tailor everything that you need to know about interacting with another human being on various platforms, and how you can learn and grow from that.
Same question. Similar to Connor, I work in the creative field as well, and specifically for wedding photography, there is a lot of trust that is involved in a wedding day, and I spend a lot of time talking to brides or mothers of brides or mothers of the groom and kind of managing those relationships. So for me, it's probably that communication intelligence of adaptability. I mean, you guys have seen wedding days and how crazy they can be. They can be really amazing or really stressful, and I have to be kind of the glue that keeps everything going, because at the end of the day, the only thing left is the video or the photos from that day. And so for me, my job's really fun, but it's really hard and stressful to manage those relationships, and that's probably the key thing that I do.
Yeah, so working in tech, I do sales, you know, it's all technology based, but we like to say that people buy from people. And so everything I do is relationship based. My relationship with my customers, my relationship with my internal customers at Cisco, it's all people based, and how I communicate with them, and making sure that I'm reading people the right way, that I'm collaborating with people in the right way. Collaboration is a giant part of what I do, and all of those skills were definitely kind of found in me before I came to UNCW, but I think COM really brought it all together. And relationship-based is my entire job. It's why I am been able to do what I do, just based on working with people and knowing how to work with people effectively and in the best ways.
So this next question, we'll start with Shay. How have some of the core classes in COM kind of helped you compete with getting your current position?
Well, I was one of those students who kind of put all my eggs in one basket, to the dismay of my parents upon graduation. So it was my senior year at UNCW when I decided I was going to apply for an internship. And I really wish I would have done that earlier. I wish I would have gone abroad about my junior year and learned about media there. But instead, I started interning at Encore magazine as writing and things like that. And when I graduated, I just had a feeling, I was like, I'm going to make a position for myself. I want to stay in this community for a while and learn about the community. And so the gift of persuasion takes you a very long way in the world, and passion takes you even further and makes the persuasion easier. I had a passion for writing, and I had a passion for talking to people. And I was in a position where I could combine the two and make a position for myself when they didn't think they needed one. And I had to start on the opposite side of the spectrum from what I wanted, which was editing. I had to start in advertising, but luckily my comm studies was concentrated on advertising. So that's how I got in, to make more money, but to also fuel my passion for writing. So that was the goal. All the debate classes I took for both English and comm studies helped me 100%, because they put me in the line of fire without knowing what was going to happen, and I had to react, and I had to think about those reactions very carefully. And that's just, but also in a moment's notice. And I feel like that's a really good experience for life in general. You don't know what it's going to throw at you. You don't know what's going to happen. Your reaction in that moment carries you, how does it carry you further? Debate classes were my favorite.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I had a unique experience at UNCW. I kind of, with my personality, I want a little bit of everything all the time. And so I came in and I was like, cool, I'm a comm major, great, I'm gonna take every class. So I did a little bit of, intercultural communication, interracial communication, and then I did some IMC, and just kind of juggling that. Middle of my junior year, I thought, you know what, I have enough classes that I can do a double major in international studies, why not? And looking back, you pair comm studies with international studies, and that basically says to anyone, I can talk to anybody anywhere, right? And so I think the theme that you're gonna learn from us today, hopefully, and things that you're already picking up on, is it really is about relational things. It's relational based. You have to be willing to put yourself out there to talk to someone that you might not normally talk to, whether that's because they look differently than you, or their job is different than you, or they're just in a complete different part of the world. And so for me, I really think it was taking the array of classes that I did that makes me feel comfortable in any situation.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say the core classes I think public speaking was my freshman year, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. Probably not the best time to take public speaking first semester, but I continued down the public speaking performance track. I actually took all of Dr. Scott's performance ethnography classes that you could possibly take as she was continuing to build that up, because it was probably at the beginning of her tenure here. And those classes just really set me apart. In the interview process I did to get into Cisco, it was really my presentation that I had to give that kind of set me over the edge from my competition. And that was solely because of the things that I learned from taking public speaking performance and becoming comfortable talking in front of people, and talking in front of people that are older than me and different than me, and know a lot more about technology than I do. And I have to kind of have a confidence that shows it doesn't matter, and I am still confident in what I do. And I think public speaking did a lot of that. I would also say Com 400 really helped me organize my thoughts, understand how to approach things from a professional perspective. A lot of what I do in terms of presentation is PowerPoint building and getting the content out to people that when I need to. So those two classes pair really well together. I think I would recommend public speaking, not first semester, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m., but definitely was worth it, and I found a lot of value in that.
I feel that the best class for me that helped me in my current position would be probably the interpersonal communication, because in my interview process, it was several stages. First, you have the very short 15-minute phone call that's like, hey, kind of tell me a little bit about yourself. Let me see if you're good enough to go to the next level. The next level is a panel interview where I have 3 different people. Sometimes it's just 2 and 1 person on speakerphone, which is very difficult, especially trying to read cues, and you can't, one person may start talking while you're trying to talk. I've had several interviews within my company and been turned down a few times, and that's okay, because I learn it with every time that I interview. So the main interview was a 3-person panel, and I was able to just read them, and it allowed me to kind of gauge myself and how I was going to react to them. It allowed me to just work better, and I'll just be honest, for me, I don't always have every answer when they're going to ask me. So I have really good fibs. That's what I call them. I have really great answers that I give for some interview questions. So if they ask me a really hard question, then I take a scenario that I have been working with, and I know it's going to work well. But just working with people and kind of working with nonverbals and reacting to that has really helped me.
Yeah, I think going back to this idea of the dialectic, I think it was Com 301, rhetorical theory, but I didn't know how important it was going to be at the time. Like I thought it was a cool idea. It's basically this idea of 2 ideas kind of converging, and then you sort of find I think the term in the study was the truth. Maybe not so much the truth in everyday life, but an answer or a solution or a path. I think in the creative field, it's really funny because if you're a service provider working with a client, sometimes you have to take the client's vision and you kind of have to just do that because they're really adamant about it and they're paying you all this money and they're very particular. But in, I think, the best situations, you can take this vision that they have and you can insert your own creative input into it, and you guys can create your own dialectic. You know, you have service provider, client, and you guys clash for a little bit, but maybe you create the best result from that. I think a lot of product engineering works the same way. I wouldn't say we're doing product engineering, but in the same idea, if someone has an idea to do a documentary, they say, we want to do about this. This is really cool. And you say, okay, well, this is cool, but like, you might get a wider audience if you do it, put this spin on it. And they say, oh, no, we don't want to do that. You say, well, I think you really should do that. And then you have this conversation, you create this dialectic, and then throughout that process, you find the answer in it. And in my opinion, two ideas together sort of converging to create one really great idea is way more impactful than the two ideas sort of operating on their own. So for me, I'd say it's the dialectic. I didn't have any clue how much impact it would play in my life right now, but it's a pretty cool idea.
Awesome. Great. Summer, you talked about how you took a different array of classes during your time here. Is there anything you would have done differently as a comm studies major?
I would have gotten involved sooner. Is there any freshmen in here? Any freshmen, sophomore, juniors? Y'all need to be involved. You need to get into Comm Study Society. You need to get into the Honor Society. You need to be talking to your professors, whatever it takes to get an internship, to get anything. I mean, like I said, I was having so much fun and learning all these things, but not until my junior year did I realize how serious it was to make those connections. And thankfully, you know, those connections have sustained me in this town. I actually was born and raised here in Wilmington, but had zero affiliation with UNCW until I got here and didn't know any of these professors or any of these people. And now I have genuine friendships with some of my professors, which is amazing. So I would challenge you, you know, if you're not involved, get involved because it's really gonna impact your career.
Yeah, so one of the things that I get asked all the time is like, you don't have a business degree, and I don't have a business degree, I have a comm degree. And I wish that I would have taken a little bit more of the IMC track and some more of those like marketing, advertising, because that's very inherently in a lot of what I do. I double majored in Spanish, so I spent my last year at school immersed in Spanish classes, which was fun. But I definitely wish I had added some of those business components that we offer in the Communication Studies department. You don't need a business degree to enter the business world. I mean, you have a degree, you learn a lot here, and I think a lot of the skills you learn in the comm department can take you really far. But I wish I had done a little bit more of those kind of classes. I really stuck with the performance, like interracial, intercultural, some of those type of classes, and I think that the IMC track could have given me some valuable things in my initial job search and my initial post-grad life.
I, as very much like Summer, took a bunch of different classes. I worked full-time throughout my entire college life, and I had to. But I wish I would have taken some time and talked to my parents and said, hey, can you help me out a little bit besides providing me a house and shelter, food, you know, water, and help me out with some, you know, monetarily with some bills, and let me do an internship. Let me spend more time on campus and, you know, just experiencing more, you know, and just broadening a little bit. Because I didn't. So I went to school, left, you know, and I did a couple of things, you know, Comm Study Society, and I did Baptist Student Union, and that was it. So, you know, I had it in my head what I was going to do when I graduated, and it didn't at all happen. So not because I didn't do the internship, you know, not because I wasn't here on campus all the time, but I wish I would have done that.
Yeah, I think I was good. I didn't really need to go back and do anything else. No, I mean, in all seriousness, I think I feel really good about my experience. Like, there's not like one thing I would go back and say, man, I really wish I did that differently. I think those experiences all kind of pushed me to where I am now. Like, if I had done one thing different, you know, it's like, well, wait, maybe this wouldn't have happened or this wouldn't have happened. But at the same time, I think as a student, especially in the comm major, you can put all your eggs in one basket in a lot of times, and maybe you're really passionate about something or you feel really strongly about something and you want to put everything into that. And that's great to have that mindset and to, see that vision and sort of go through with it. I think in order to not get too narrow-minded in that path, though, one thing I really wish I would have done would be to draw these little side trails, right? And be like, okay, what can maybe benefit this path? If I'm going from A to B, what are the different things along the way that I can do to help either push me further in that journey, or to make it easier, or to make it more enriching? And I guess the comm studies answer to that is, if you're pursuing a path or you have a concentration, look and see what other things maybe beyond that path might help kind of contribute to it. Well, I know one of those things for me would have been web design and working in a design field. There are a lot of times where I get clients that have these questions about design, or like, how is this going to look, or like, how should we do this print stuff? And I'm kind of just sitting there scratching my head. I'm like, let me go make a phone call and I'll come back to you in like 15 minutes and then we'll talk about it. And I really wish I had that confidence and that knowledge to be able to inform that decision right away. And again, that would have been something that I could have taken while I was here that would have helped me now. But again, I was so focused, and I was like, you know what, I'm only going to do this because this is how I want to spend my time. So I guess look for those opportunities that are maybe outside of your path that can help influence it.
Okay, I would have studied abroad. That's what I would have done. And I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to do that immediately. Because it's really interesting being thrust into a collegiate atmosphere, coming from, I came from a small town outside of Charlotte, and then, your mind gets blown because you're like, wow, there's just so much more out there. And then thinking back, I really wish I would have pushed it even further and further and further until you have this overall, real look at how the world sees what's happening. It's the most mind-opening experience. So I would highly recommend you study abroad to understand the world that you live in is not what you immediately think it is.
Awesome. So this is me and Betsy's last question. So I hope you guys have been thinking about something, or this is going to be kind of awkward. But this last one, we'll have Alyssa start. So thinking about coworkers and supervisors, what is one characteristic that you're hoping that they have?
Yeah. So I'm in my 4th year at Cisco, and I'm actually starting my 4th job on Monday. This is my last day of my current role, which is awkward because I'm on PTO, but that's okay. So I've had a lot of different experiences at work. Every job has been a little bit different, and I've kind of made my own path. And the one thing that I look for more than anything else is good leadership. There's a big difference between a leader and a manager. And there's a very big difference between working for somebody who wants to grow you and wants to help you and wants to make you a better employee and a better person at work and personally as well, and then a manager who is not really on the same page as you and doesn't see your strengths and doesn't give you the feedback that you're looking for. And as a millennial in the workplace, which is a term I hate, but one that I wear, and there's a lot of disconnect when I work in IT, which is with people who are more or less 30 or 40 years older than me. I'm the youngest person in the room by 10 years most of the time, and a lot of times I'm the only female. So there's a lot of roadblocks that I hit just naturally in the professional world, and having good leaders and having people who see leadership qualities and the ability to work with people has just been instrumental into my success. And a lot of the reasons why I've left some jobs and moved to other jobs was because of not really feeling that I was getting that from my management team. And so I've learned that if I don't like my manager, I'm not going to like my job. And that's kind of helped me grow in my career.
No, I'm sitting here. I have two in my head. I would pick, I said, why would I want to say I would pick passion. Because I work in an industry that is hard work. I think work is work. And I like my job because at the end of the day, I like to think that I'm helping save lives or find a cure for something or to help people down the road. So it's mundane, a lot of repetition, a lot of reviewing, but I have to have some kind of passion in what I do, or else why would I be doing it? And that's what I want out of somebody that's sitting in a cubicle next to me or on the same team with me. Because if they don't have it, then get out of the team. Get out of the company because you're wasting space. You're wasting somebody else that has been spending 2 years trying to get in with that company, that has just more passion and whatever, that can be doing the same thing, and that will end up working harder because they have that. And that's why I continue to go there every day. It's because of passion and other things.
Absolutely. Connor?
Yeah, I was definitely going to say passion, but just, it's all right. I don't want to use the taboo phrases that we were sent in the email before this. So I'll say initiative, because I think that's sort of the next step in passion. My first job out of college, I was given a lot of responsibility, I guess would be the right word, a lot of responsibility that if something wasn't there or wasn't around or needed to be there, I didn't necessarily have to go up and ask my manager and say, hey, can I do this? Or what do you think about this? Or does this sound like a good idea? Because by the time we have that conversation, it probably could have already been done by then. And maybe, if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. It's fine, but at least you tried. So if it was me, and let's say I'm in an interview setting with someone that can show initiative, that doesn't have to wait around to be told what to do. I mean, especially in a production setting, if anyone's ever been on a set before, or they've worked in a collaborative environment with 20 different people, you don't have time to walk up to someone and be like, hey, what should I be doing? Or how do I do this? Or should I do this? But the idea of being able to think on a moment's notice and say, maybe this is something that I should go do, and then to be able to act on that in an efficient way, I think is a super important characteristic. For me in that first job, like I said, we didn't have time for me to be sitting on my computer and doing all this research about it and trying to create a plan and then presenting it to my manager and saying, hey, let's give this a shot. But I can maybe do it in a half hour and be like, hey, I tried this and it looks like it's working. What do you think? Cool, let's go with it. And then we're kind of already out the door. So I'd say kind of using your passion to fuel that initiative and being able to step into a situation and act without necessarily having someone to tell you what to do.
I feel like my answer would change weekly, mainly because I'm always on a weekly deadline. So every week I feel like I need something different. But right now, the common thread is always dependability and the fortitude to go above and beyond. I think maybe that plays into what Connor was saying. But dependability is number one. If you just can't show up and do the basics, we got a problem. I mean, if you just can't show up and literally do the basics, we're gonna have a problem. So that's, what do they say? Showing up's like half the step of success. If you can't even do that, then I don't know. Dependability is number one for me.
Well, to wrap it all up, I think you need to be a great leader with a lot of passion. You really need to be dependable, and you really need to have initiative. And to do all those things, you also need to be flexible. Yeah. And so for me, honestly, I'm doing all of that on a wedding day. I am the leader. I am the dependable person. It's crazy how in your job you are in so many roles. Every week your role changes. And so if you can really get behind what it means to be an upstanding human being, you can get these qualities. You really can. And you can learn that through communication studies. And so I think really honing in on the path that you want to take professionally and developing these qualities is really going to set you far.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those answers, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. We now like to open the floor to the audience. So if you have a question, please raise your hand so Aria or myself can come and hand you a microphone. We also ask that if you have a question to please stand while you're asking so the panelists can see who's speaking better. I know Aria has already found our first question.
Okay, well, first, thank you guys for coming. That was awesome. And so basically, I know that you kind of hit a little bit on having a busy schedule and, but still the need to get involved and so, being a student, a full-time student, and I also have a job too. So what is your best suggestion for just really trying to push through that and still, be involved on campus? Because that's something I do really need to do a lot more of. Just what is your best suggestion for that?
I think there's this thing with busyness right now. Sorry, I got a hair. Still there. Okay. It's really, if you say you're busy, that's like a badge of honor, and that's a lie. That's a lie. You cannot let your schedule manage your life. you need to manage your schedule. And so I don't know for you whether that is sitting down with a planner and really deciding what is most important to you and managing that time. But I really do believe that if you make the decision to make something important, you can make it happen. You know, right now my husband is here at grad school full time. He's working full time. He's a husband, and he's also teaching a class, and yet he has time for all of that because he's managed that. And so that's just a practical example, and we all have examples. I mean, that was just hearing what you said. And so I really think if you take control of your schedule and really go for it, you can do anything.
And I would echo that. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to like have this great plan tomorrow, but work at it over time. You're not going to master your schedule in like 2 days, and your schedule is undoubtedly going to get busier and change. So there's no sense like trying to figure it all out like when you like leave this room right now. But over time it's a skill, right? And it's a skill set you have to develop, and over time you get better at it. Make a conscious effort to try to improve it, and you know, then you can sort of be ready to deal with any schedule that kind of comes your way. Yeah.
I also think it depends on how bad you want it. I mean, do you really want to be involved? Because if you do, you're going to make it happen. I mean, that's how I always look at everything in my life. I oversee about 3 publications and freelance for like 5. So busyness I got, but like last night someone's like, hey, can you redesign this blah, blah, blah for me? No, I'm sorry, I can't. It was like a menu or something. I'm like, I didn't really want to do it, so I didn't make time for it, you know? I mean, it's just that simple, like how bad do you want it?
Asking for help as well.
Yeah, that's important.
We have our next question.
Hi. Specifically, I was going to ask Alyssa, you said that you are often the youngest person and the youngest woman in the room. How do you, beyond just being prepared, command respect with your, like, elderly people?
Yeah,
Not
great
elderly.
question. So it's something I deal with like every single day. I am literally the organization I'm leaving, I was the youngest person by 9 years, and like one of 5 women of 40 employees. So I work in tech. It's like, it is what it is. That's kind of just the industry I entered. I come prepared. Like, preparedness is the number 1 thing. I do not try to act like I don't know what I don't know. What I do in my job, like, I'm not an engineer. I know way more about technology than I did 5 years ago, but I really try to make sure that I don't act like I know something that I don't know. And a lot of it's personality. Like, a lot of times I get the feedback that, like, I'm so comfortable talking to people. I don't get nervous. I give eye contact. I shake people's hands. I command the respect that I deserve to have, that I work for my company. They think that I'm qualified enough to be here. I'm qualified enough to be here. And there have been some instances where maybe one of my customers isn't jiving with me because he's very much my senior and I'm younger than all of his kids by 5 years. So he can't really seem to understand why I'm in the room. And sometimes you have to make those adjustments, and that's where I hope that I have a leader in my manager who understands that this is just out of my wheelhouse and not because it's something that I can control. So knowing what you can control, knowing what you can't, and trying to just adapt. And I find most of the time it ends up being perfectly fine. And they need young women, they need young men, they need young people in the workforce because we come to the table with creative ideas. I look at things that people who've been doing my job for 20 years do not see it in that same way. And a lot of times I work way faster, a lot more efficiently, and I get things done in a much different way. So don't ever take it, like, I just don't look at it as like a detriment, but I also have to recognize that it is there because I don't want to be naive about my professional situation.
We have a question right here, too.
Thank you. Oh, it's perfectly fine. So Connor, something that you said in your story really interested me about how you and your brother, you moved all the way across the nation and started your own small business in another city. Can you tell us 2 of the biggest obstacles that you both faced in starting that business and how you overcame them?
Whew, yeah. Thank you for making our company sound awesome. I appreciate that. One of them is the fear of backing down. That would be a big one. The other obstacle would be time. So the fear of backing down and time. This is a big conversation, so I'll try to condense it as best I can. But there's a lot of a lot of ways that the world can tell you not to go for it and not to bet on yourself. Betting on yourself, I think, is this idea that you have enough confidence to say that you can do it on your own. You don't need some sort of outside force, some stroke of luck or fate or something to make it happen. You know, you can go and you can take that in your own hands and you can make it happen. And there's a lot of times in that process and during that period that you're going to get scared that you can't, right? Like if it's a poker game that we're kind of comparing a metaphor, you go all in on something. The moment you do it, you have confidence. The moment you push the chips in, you step back and you go, oh no, what did I just do? It just shatters, right? It disappears. So you have to be able to get over that and be confident in your decision and say, you know what, even if I go on here and I lose and I don't have the best hand in the deck, that doesn't mean I can't get it back up and then go all in another time. You know, it doesn't mean I don't have another chance. I don't lose my only chance. That's the first one, is the fear, being able to get over that fear and being willing to bet on yourself. The second one is time. I guess patience would also be like sort of the spin-off of that. You have to be patient when things are coming together. You know, great businesses aren't built in a year or 2 years or 3 years even. Sometimes they take an entire lifetime, and that's pretty intimidating to think about. But if you want it bad enough, then a lifetime really isn't that much, because you know that you're going to get to it at some point, and you're going to learn a lot of things along the way, and you're going to get these incredible experiences. But you have to be patient too. You have to understand, okay, this year maybe we didn't make as much money, or this month we didn't hit on all these goals, but let's use that. Let's take that experience. Let's use it as momentum to push us forward into this next month, and let's sort of see what we can create kind of going from it. And so to have the patience and I guess the foresight to sort of see like not everything comes together as quickly as you want it to sometimes, doesn't mean you have to sit around and get anxious or you have to change something that you're doing. But you know, give your plan time. If you're willing to commit to this and you want to make this and see this through, then you need to give it the time that it deserves. I mean, it's kind of like college in the same way, and I guess one step further, comp studies. But you know, you can't do it all in 1 year, and you wouldn't want to, right? You want to get the full experience out of it. It's, in my opinion, the longer it takes you, the better. You know, you're going to open yourself up to a lot more opportunities. So I'd say, yeah, to summarize, the fear of backing down, be willing to push through and bet on yourself, and have the patience to see something through. If it's what you really want to do, you know, be patient with it and see what happens.
Awesome. We have another question.
Yeah. So, Alyssa, you mentioned briefly earlier about the IMC and how you didn't really get involved much with it. Did anyone else go down that course? And then, like, if you did, can you just say maybe how it's, like, benefited you? Or if that's possible, if anybody did? Okay, thanks.
Well, I took the class.
You took an IMC class.
IMC stands for Integrated Marketing Communication, if you didn't know. I think the key word in that is integrated. You know, you guys know social media and tech and everything is changing all the time. I mean, there's new platforms opening up all the time of how to get your name out there and how to be successful and how to start a business, how to run a business. So I think through being able to use what you learn in that class, because I'm sure the class has changed drastically since I've taken it 5 years ago, you're going to be able to be successful. So I think the key word's integrated, because it changes all the time. You know, you guys, we all know. Yeah, yeah, so.
We have one more question over here.
Hey, thank y'all for coming out. This question's for Connor. So when you're working with clients, how do you fully understand the vision that they see? I know you kind of touched on it briefly that you'll kind of collaborate, but how do you fully get inside their head and see what they want?
Yeah, I think it's sort of like a double-edged sword, because they think they want this thing over here, but you also have to have the mindset and I guess the experience to also be able to influence that decision in a way. And again, that dialectic idea. So for us, it always starts, like from a business perspective, for us it always starts with a consultation, which is a fancy word of saying, let's talk about it, right? let's talk this out and let's figure out what your needs are. From there, again, that's kind of the beginning of the relationship. That's sort of fostering that trust that we have in the client. From there, we do basically a needs analysis, which is like, okay, here's what you guys think you need. Here's where your pain points are. Here's basically our plan to combat that. Oh, and also here's like 4 or 5 other things that we think we can do for you too, right? So it's being able to like add on top and accelerate and amplify what their vision is. And again, that kind of helps delineate you from other people that are just going to show up and get the job done. you know, we'll get the job done, but wait, we also have these other 5 ideas that we think could be really, really beneficial for your company or for your vision. So, and that, again, I think that helps kind of foster trust at the same time. You're not just showing up to do what they have set out to do, but you want to accelerate that and you want to build that up. It's a lot like a sales model. I hesitate to say the word sales because I don't know a whole lot about it, at least not as much as Alyssa probably knows, but the idea is that you don't just do one thing and then you're done and you step back and you're like, all right, I did that, it's good. You want your clients and you want your people to continue to come back to you for all their different needs. That's why I think this integrated idea is really important too, because if you're just, you know, doing one thing for somebody, then you can either be really, really good at that, but then they might go to somebody else for the other thing. So you want to create this relationship where you say, okay, you come to me for whatever this need is. And if I can do it, great. And if I can't, I have somebody else that I know that can do it. And that's how that relationship gets stronger. And then at the same time, you're also fostering this collaboration between the two. So they can present a vision to you, and you have the rapport with them to say, okay, this is great. Let's add this on, or like, let's try it this different way. And they'll have that trust in you to sort of be able to do that. So again, it's talking and time and transparency and communication. But I think the more that you do it, you'll realize that people want to put trust in somebody. And so if you can present a great vision, a great plan to them, then, you know, they'll kind of be open arms for you.
Awesome. So we just have one more question to end our panel. We'll just like go down the line and let you guys answer it. So what is one word, what is a one-word summary for you guys to like wrap up comm studies or like a comm studies graduate? How would you summarize them in one word?
An ideal comm studies graduate, one word, I would say a leader.
Human, probably, is a good one. Let's be honest. Like, one word is human, but let's be honest. Like, we're all people here, so treat people like people and be a good person. I think. Sorry, I had to expand on that a little bit more. But
Patience.
Oh, I'm having a hard time. I'm gonna say 2. Fun. I think you need to be fun, and you need to be okay with having fun. Because if you're rigid, you're not gonna enjoy your job, and you're not gonna have passion and go for it. And I do think flexible is very important.
My word would be versatility. I think one of the biggest benefits of graduating from UNC Wilmington, specifically with the communication studies degree, is it doesn't say a concentration in something. You can take your degree and make it anything that you want it to be. You can take as many classes as you want to take. You can take classes all around the portfolio. You can do whatever you need to do. And then when you go to apply for jobs, you can spin that any way you want to spin it. So take all the different classes you can, take all the experiences you can, and then figure out from there, you know, what you want to pull, your strengths, and know your strengths and your weaknesses, and be versatile with it. That's, I think, the biggest thing that got me to where I was, is because it doesn't say concentration and performance, it just says communication studies, and that is so broad and encompassing of everything that everyone on this panel here does. It puts you in a really good place for success, and it's a great place to be.
Awesome. Well, guys, it looks like we're out of time, but we want to just thank you all for coming. You guys had great responses, and just for sharing your experiences with everyone. I know we're all just like really just thankful that you guys came. So just give you guys a round of applause real fast. Thank you so much.
We now invite everyone to join us in the main lobby of Lutzy Hall for our networking session. Our panelists will be there until 11:30, and this is a really good networking opportunity, so we hope that you guys take advantage of it.
Yeah, thanks. One quick thing before, just to remind you guys, we do have our second alumni panel in this room again this afternoon at 1, and so we'll have new panelists, and they'll answer all of your questions that you might have. So thank you again, guys, for coming out this morning.
Thank you.